Hello and welcome. This is Tashara, editor and founder of DARKUS magazine, and today we've taken a trip to the epicenter of great food, which is Foodhak. Based here in London, Foodhak is much more than a name. It's a way of introducing nutritional and tasty food into your diet. We cannot wait to find out more about the tasty food and hear from the founder, Sakshi, as she tells us more about the Foodhak journey. So without further ado, let's go and explore the world of Foodhak. So our culinary trip to London continues with a trip to Foodhak, based round the corner from Willesden Junction. And today I'm joined by Sakshi, the owner and founder of Foodhak. How are you doing, Sakshi?
Good, thank you. Thank you for making the trip down here. Like I said, it's not the most glamorous area, but it is a very well-connected logistics hub, which is what a business like us needs.
Yeah.
But hopefully you'll enjoy the food later.
Definitely. So, we're already dreaming of it. But before we get there, tell us how have these past few months been for you as a business?
It's been a pleasant surprise how the market has responded to a product like this in the UK. Initially, when I left my job, I was more keen on the US because I thought US is where, especially in California, certain parts of US is where food is medicine, anti-inflammatory meals, might hit it home. Whereas in the UK, I was a bit unsure if people really understand the links between inflammation and disease, but to my surprise, I actually think this is a better market than even the US, and our numbers and numbers in terms of subscribers, subscriber growth, in terms of repeat rates, they've been shocking. In a very, very pleasant way. Like last month we had almost 70-75% repeat, which means 75% of our subscribers are buying from us more than once a month.
Wow.
Which means that they are loving the product in terms of taste, variety, health benefits, and probably price. So the last couple of months I would say have been a real pleasant surprise. And I think from what I've learned from this year, I think we're going to continue to do very well in the UK. And I think it's a very attractive market. People are very conscious about health and wellness. They read a lot. They read the back of the labels. We hear comments like sometimes they even question their nutritionist or dietitian because they believe that they've spent more time reading the science behind things and they really get to the bottom of it. So that's our target population, and that's happening in the UK. And they know the links. They know the word inflammation. They get it instantly. They're attracted to it. Low glycemic, free from gluten, sugars, dairy. So it's a very clever bunch of people in the UK.
And also people are more conscious of their own bodies now, yeah. Because as you say, when they're questioning their nutritionist, it's because they know their body, what works for them and what doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think COVID has helped some of that. To be fair, even before COVID, I think we saw a massive rise in the health and wellness trend in the UK. Like if you look at the 20-something-year-olds, compare it to, when we were 20, in our 20s, or, our parents were in their 20s, the allocation of money, of their savings was very different compared to today's 20-year-old. Right, like what I find is today's 20-year-old will go less to nightclubs and spend on things that are bad for your body like alcohol and things, but they would rather spend on a good gym membership or on a good food service, which is providing them with really, really clean stuff, basically health and wellness focus. They're treating their bodies like temple, like we should. So even before COVID we saw this, but I think COVID just massively pushed the health and wellness trend, where these people have become even more confident that if they are healthy, right, they're going to be able to deal with pandemics. God knows if this is the first and the last that we have to see. So yeah, definitely.
So obviously, like, you've got like a very busy lifestyle now, like just like of juggling family and also juggling like an empire such as Foodhak. So when you do have those tough moments, how do you not give up?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I actually think that all mothers who are also entrepreneurs are superwomen. And you know what? Once you say it to yourself, then it just gives you more power. Then you just keep going, and you don't feel, um, you don't feel negative about anything. You don't feel stressed about anything. You just feel proud about everything you do.
Yeah.
And I think, we should just, I think for me, what works is just accepting it. That I'm a superwoman, and therefore I'm going to do it all.
Do your children see that in you as well?
I'm sure. They're very young.
Yeah.
They're 4.5 and 2. And my husband and I often discuss this, on date nights or the one quiet night that we get, where, I'm sure, because we grew up in a generation where our mothers, not a lot of them actually worked. They were assumed to be homemakers by choice or not by choice, right? And whereas this generation, things are changing. You see most of the women are trying to do something, they're working, and so I think this is a very good example for our kids. We've got 2 boys, and hopefully I'm setting a good example where you can do it all, where you can be a good mother, you can still look after your house, your home, their schedules, but you can still, do what you're passionate about, whether that's a business or that's not a business, that's something else. Maybe that's, creating art, or, working for another company, or anything that makes you happy, that helps you realize an identity that is yours, not your husband's, right? So yeah, I think going back to your question, is it challenging? For sure, it's challenging. But I also believe that you only have one life, right? And I don't want to ever have regrets. Nobody wants to have regrets. So I want to live it to my max. And I love working. I have a passion for businesses. I love the fact that in this business, when I'm 80 or 90 years old, I look back and I say, we made some money and I gave a good life to my kids. But more importantly, we also did something good for the people's health and for the planet. That's my contribution. So that's what drives me. COVID really gave me the opportunity to put pen down on paper and see if it works as a business model, if the margins worked, market, how it was growing, things like that. And what I realized was the margins were very strong if it was executed properly. And I think I had an unfair advantage where, because I was at SoftBank as an investor, I had sat on boards of companies like this. I had learned a lot of what works and what doesn't work. So I was almost reverse engineering, everything operationally, that would make the model work. So yeah, margins were great. One of the fastest growing markets, like we discussed. It was a differentiated product, where it was actually adding value to people's health, and the planet, delicious. And there was some signs of product market fit. So normally, I mean, if I'd see that as an investor, I would double down. So that's when I decided that it's, I'm going to take this more, a step ahead of my passion project and actually leave SoftBank and do this full time. And so earlier last year, I started working on this full time. And the first people I hired were machine learning scholars. Because what me and the doctors had been doing were, we were reading clinical research manually, right? And we were the bottleneck in creating recipes. So, because the clinical research on food is not very clean, there's a lot of noise in there, because people want you to be confused, right? And so you have to segregate the signal from noise, and machine learning and technology can do that.
Yeah.
Right? So today, after 2 years almost, after almost 2 years, we've got our own data proprietary models where, we've understood ingredient disease links based on clean clinical research and using technology. And then we use this to build some of our recipes. How do we infuse, ingredient swaps like we discussed, and personalize food. So today what we have is, what you'll try a bit later are dishes that you recognize, like think of a Thai curry, but with spirulina in there, which helps you with your immune system. Think of a brownie, right, which is not just gluten-free and sugar-free and dairy-free, but it also has ashwagandha in there, which helps you with mental health, nervous system, stress, anxiety. And so, you'll find a whole range of cuisines, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, everything, because technology can help us build all of these different recipes, but they're all delicious, but they help you in some way, your body in some way. Most of my time was spent on healthcare, food sciences, life sciences, and I also did logistics, right? What I noticed was that, most diseases were coming down to food, but it was too late. By the time you discover you have a disease, you go to the doctor's like, well, you shouldn't have been eating X, Y, and Z, and you should. It's a bit late. And then second of all, their knowledge was very superficial, because they come out and tell you, look, we didn't study food, we didn't study nutrition as part of our 5-year medical degree. So I don't know what to tell you, but I guess cut out the sugar, but so there was a big gap on these health focused foods. I mean, if you look at most chronic diseases, they're all to do with lifestyle. 80% of your lifestyle is food, but there is nothing on the market, that have health focused real foods for everyday foods, not meal replacements, not meat replacements, real everyday foods, that are nourishing to the body, that bring you, locally sourced ingredients to your table. Nothing. So that's what I noticed on the sort of professional side of things. And then on the personal side, the big reason why I did Foodhak was I developed a liver breakdown during my pregnancy, and the doctors basically said, you're unlucky, it's less than 0.5% of women that get impacted, and there is no science around food or any other links, nothing you can do. We just have to keep testing your liver function tests, and if they're just crazy exploding, then we'll have to just evacuate the baby out, because if you leave the baby in too long, it can cause a stillbirth, and this is right to the end of your pregnancy, so it's really stressful, right? And that's when I was like, I don't believe that there isn't any answer to this, because our body is like a machine, right? So I went back in the clinical research and changed my food and managed to avoid it, reverse it altogether. Even the doctors were quite surprised, obviously. And since then, it's been a sort of a journey where not only liver related, but I also discovered so much other data linking food with disease, how it can be curative. If somebody has a disease, how it can cure it, reverse it. It can be preventative. How if someone is susceptible to having something, if you change your food, slight little changes, it can prevent it. How it's the key to longevity. Longevity means how do you live longer, but healthier and happier, not just withering away with disease, right? And so, that's when I started working as a passion project with doctors on the side of my full-time job, where on the weekends, it was quite fun actually. It sounds hectic, but it was quite fun, because on the weekends, we would come together, we would discuss, we would find these ingredients, try to infuse them into recipes, create these recipes, still keeping the deliciousness of the food, because we come from a part of the world where you express your love through food, right? And so flavors are extremely important, but it's about finding a way to take out some of the bad stuff and induce some of the good stuff without you as a user, consumer, realizing, because it doesn't impact the taste. And then we would eat lunch together and we would exchange notes on how we can better. That's how it all started, really. And then once we had a bank of recipes, over weekends of doing this together, the doctors were like, we have our patients who are very keen on getting their hands on this food, because we were just talking to them and they learned about what we were doing on the weekends, and so they're very keen. Why don't you do a soft launch, right? So I was like, sure, I'll take a week off and I'll do a soft launch, from my kitchen, right, delivering food. And they were like, look, we'll have 25 people for you because they're just all interested in anti-inflammatory, low glycemic, gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free foods. And so I did that, but what was supposed to be a week long ended up being 4 months long.
Yeah, wow.
And we grew from like 25 customers, 20 customers to 100, sometimes even more in a day. And this was a team of 4 part-time people. We would wake up very early at 5 a.m., get to the kitchen at 6, like start work at 6. We were there from 6 till 9. Then we would go to our full-time jobs. And there was no marketing. There was just a chef, an assistant chef, someone helping me with the logistics, and me. That was the team.
Wow.
So there was, and so that's when we realized that there is a gap in the market. There is a need in the market. There are enough people, who are suffering from things, who can never eat out, who have to cook by themselves. But when they want to take a break, there's just nothing on the market. So that was a nice kind of early sign of some product market fit.
Is there, from the dishes you've got as part of the Foodhak subscription, is there any that's your absolute favourite?
The team makes so much fun of me because they hear me say, this is my favorite. Like, they hear me say that like 10 times a day. And they all just laugh at me. So I would say, I'm a big lover of soups. I think they fill you up, and they're so light on the calories. So kind of frees up that quota for the evening if you're going out, So for me, my favorites are the tom yum soup, the rasam. These two are my favorites on the soup side of things. I would say I like a bit of spice to my dish. So I also love our burrito bowl. It's got really high protein. It's got that little spice. It's got the veg in there. It's like a complete meal, on its own. I think in the curries, I would say my favorite is a red Thai curry because it's spicy. And then I would say on the dessert side, my favorite would be the brownies. When you warm them up a little bit, they're amazing. We're also developing new products which I'm really excited about, like the adaptogenic cakes and things for Christmas, like a collagen bar, which is great for your skin. And
Brilliant. Well, it's been amazing speaking to you, Sakshi. And so, for undiscovered Foodhak yet, what would you say to encourage them to start to take that journey with you and your brand?
Yeah, look, I think everyone needs a little bit of help with cooking, right? Even if you're cooking every day, you end up ordering Deliveroo or, something from your corner shop because it's, you just want to give yourself a break. So my suggestion to those people is order a subscription on Foodhak, have these pouches in your fridge. They have a pretty decent shelf life. They're not like your takeaway trays, which have 3 days or something. These are pouches. So as a result, you have a decent shelf life. Whenever you feel the need to just take a break from the cooking, open it up, warm it. At least you know that you're eating, something that's good for your health. But more so on the flavors side, like we said, taste is so important to us. We make sure that these dishes taste better, or at least the same as like a local takeout. They are priced better than your Deliveroos and things, and so just with a little bit of planning, I think even if you eat like this a few meals a week, I think that's a tribute from you to your body, looking after your preventative medicine, looking after your longevity, right? Because a lot of us don't have information around inflammation, right? And so that's what I tell, that's what I notice with my customers, and that's what I tell most people, is that this is your tribute towards longevity, right? Therefore, and that's why we built this as a subscription model. We're pushing you, even if it's 3 meals, even if it's 5 meals. Most of our customers are actually 7 meals, because think about it, in a week you've got 7 days and 3 meals, 21 meals. Can you donate a third of your week, 7 meals, towards this, and then the rest of it you can, afford to eat whatever you want to indulge in, right? But at least for those 7 meals, a third of your week, you've kind of given towards your health, your longevity, without compromising flavors, without compromising variety, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people.
Awesome. Well, you're making us hungry, so let's go and check out some of the amazing food that your team are working on. But thank you so much, and we look forward to many more great chapters for Foodhak.
Amazing. Thank you.
So,
Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. So tell us what we've got first then.
Yeah, so we're starting with an Ayurvedic rasam. In Ayurveda, they used to say you should start a meal with a rasam because it's known as a digestive stimulant. You know, all the spices in here, the way they've been tempered, it kind of kickstarts your your digestive juices, essentially. So we're starting with that. It's also one of my favorites. It's basically a lentil soup, very warming, full of spices like curry leaves and mustard seeds and turmeric, and it's got that kick from the black pepper, and it's got a little spice kick to it. My mouth is watering as I'm talking about it.
Right, on to the next.
So this is the burrito bowl. We spoke about it. It's got a very high protein content. It's got lots of vegetables in there. It's got that Mexican spice to it. It's not too spicy. So I feel like it's a perfect lunch meal. Not too high on calories. You're eating your vegetables. You've got your protein. And that little spice. Excellent. And then that's a katsu burger, just chopped up in different pieces. It's got like katsu flavored mashed vegetables that have been put together and baked in an oven, so we don't fry anything. Yeah. Again, great way of eating your veg. It's quite soft from the inside but crispy on the outside.
Do you find that, like, because obviously these are like veg based,
yeah.
Do you have anyone who originally eats meat and says to you, actually I don't miss not eating meat?
Actually, most of our customers say that because you're going to try the textures and flavors of these dishes, and I'd love to hear your opinion later on. In fact, the next dish you're going to have is a vegan keema masala, which actually feels like minced lamb, looks like it textures wise, but it isn't, obviously, and super high protein as well. But I think it's the flavors somehow and the textures that we've managed to mimic, by putting these vegetables together that don't, you don't feel the need to add meat at all.
Right, Sakshi, what have you enticed us with this time?
So this time you're looking at a vegan keema masala with some gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan focaccia bread. The vegan keema masala, like you can tell, it's got that sort of mince-like texture. It looks like meat. Hopefully, you'll also feel like you're sort of eating meat, but you can't ever get the flavors, right to that point. But it's just, plant-based, non-GMO soy that we've used. Yeah. It's got like 40 grams of protein in that dish itself, which is pretty high. Yeah. The focaccia is super clean. It's got literally no egg, no dairy, no gluten. And so we've tried to mimic a keema pao, which is an Indian dish. Yeah. It's quite indulgent. Usually it's sort of it's swimming in like oil. It's very difficult to actually eat the dish because there's so much oil. But as you can see, there's practically not much, almost like zero oil in there. Yeah. And so we've just tried to boost the nutrition, and try to mimic like an indulgent dish.
Yeah. So after such a filling banquet, we saved the best to last, the brownies you've been telling us all about. So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, these are ashwagandha brownies. They're made up of millet flour. They've got some chia seeds in there, a tiny bit of maple syrup, ashwagandha, which is, as we know, is great for mental health. It's an antidepressant, it's a stress buster, and there's like 1,000 clinical research papers that have been written on ashwagandha that besides being a mental health sort of aid, it also helps with heart health and so many other things. So it's a great way of introducing ashwagandha, in your diet. You won't even tell because, the sweetness, the moistness of the brownies will sort of completely mask that. And the beauty is that 100% of this is getting absorbed, or at least close to 100% is getting absorbed because your body is eating it like a food versus popping it as a pill where it doesn't fully get absorbed. So people love this. This is one of our favorites.
So when you've like you were saying before, when you've introduced it to, like, for example, the school for your children, what are some of the comments when people have tried this, or even your friends?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the comments are that you don't put on weight, because usually what ends up happening with some of my friends is, you have that 4 p.m. sort of tea time chocolate craving, right? Where you kind of feel a bit low, you need something to pick you up, right? And, if you are in that phase of trying to shed a few extra pounds from holiday or whatever, if you eat a normal piece of chocolate, you don't actually end up seeing the weight loss, or you might actually, it adds on to your daily calorie intake and sugar, right? Sometimes people break out on their skin, sometimes, whereas with this, you don't see any of that. So that's, one positive from the friend. The kids have no idea. They think they're eating the real brownie because it looks like it, it tastes like it, it's not too sweet. Which is also good because, you want to get your kids used to not so sweet things. And the school obviously loved it, as you read the sort of back of the pack ingredients, the introduction of sort of not using the white flours that we have today, which are all processed and just causing, glucose spikes in your body. Instead, use a millet flour, and it's a certain type of a millet, in which Ayurveda actually, it's shown to have medicinal properties.
Perfect.
So yeah.
So let's have a try.
Yeah. Great.